what it do? It's your boy J. Lou, and you are just in time for something new. Alright, now in today's video, I know everybody is quarantined. In Houston, we just got announced that it's going to be all the way up until April 17th. And if you are concerned about how you're going to be looking during this time period, if you don't want to be looking like a caveman, I wanted to make this video just for you. So with that being said, with the tools that you're going to need today, you can find all of these things in Walmart. You do not have to have the highest quality of products, or you can check on Amazon. I believe Amazon may have a delay of 1 to 2 weeks when it comes to shipping their products because of the whole entire situation. But with that being said, the first thing you're gonna need are some adjustable clippers. Now, when I say adjustable clippers, the only thing I mean by that is they have to have a lever arm, which is this thing right here. It goes from open, this is this scenario of it being open because it's pushed all the way back, to close. Now, the reason why it's called open and close, a lot of people use these terms on YouTube, is because whenever you push the lever arm all the way to the front, it's closed, and that means that the cutting blade is flush, not necessarily flush, but closer towards the protective blade at the top. So whenever you open the blade up, that basically just pushes the guard protective blade higher than the cutting blade, which allows you to not cut as much hair off. With the Andes Masters, it's a full guard size higher from close all the way to open. With that being said, I'm gonna get into the breakdown of that whenever you use different guards. And then you wanna make sure you have some clips, right? So because these are Andes Masters, I bought these personally. They come with the double magnet clips, but you can actually go to Walmart and they have an all-in-one kit. I believe it's the walls. You can buy a pair of wall clippers, and it comes with the clippers that has an adjustable blade, as well as all of the different clips, but they're not going to be magnets, So you also want to make sure you have a brush. You can get any kind of brush that you want. And since you are going to be going to Walmart or something like that to get your clippers, make sure you cop some witch hazel. The thing I like about witch hazel is it has about 14% alcohol, so it's not too much. And it's mainly an astringent, so it will clean your skin and everything necessary whenever you're giving yourself a cut. Because if you just give yourself a cut but you don't clean up the areas, it can leave your pores open and susceptible to getting bumps and all that stuff like that. Especially since this is your first time, you may not know how much pressure to use, and you may dig into your skin and cut your skin. And the last thing, you're gonna need patience, because if this is your first time, do not rush this process. This video is how to get yourself a back taper like you just left the shop. So y'all wish me luck, you know what I'm saying? Let's get it. I told y'all I'm looking kind of bummy right now, but this is the perfect time to be able to show you guys how to get yourself a taper, because my hair is looking crazy. When it comes to the back taper, what I want to do is I'm going to put up this diagram right here, and this diagram is going to serve as how barbers learn how to give people tapers. Now, don't worry about the guard sizes and everything, because when it comes to different barbers prefer using different guards and things of that nature. I'm not gonna follow this thing to the T, but I will break it down. So with that being said, let's get into it. All right, so the first thing that you need to do is you need to make sure you brush your hair. Alright, now with this first part, what you want to do, as the diagram shows you guys right here, is you need to put a guard line starting off at the bottom portion of your neck area where you want the taper to end. So what I'm going to do is take the Andes Masters, just close the blade, make sure the blade is fully closed, and then we're going to just get to work. Now, before you start off, what I always recommend doing is, because you're doing this by yourself, to give yourself a greater work area, you always want to lean your head forward. And what that does is it stretches the skin. Now, you got to just find the right angle, but if you cut your hair like this and you're trying to look into it, your skin bunches up. This is a tip that I learned from my boy Game Changer. If you want to watch more of that, video, I'll make sure I link a video right above here. This is the collab that we did. But if you're self-cutting, it's hard to do that because you typically have to hold something to where you can see yourself. I either use my phone or a mirror, and I can't stretch my skin because I have to hold the clippers in my other hand. So what I do to get around that is I simply lean my head forward as much as possible to stretch it out and then go from there. Whenever you're cutting yourself, you do not want to cut your hair directly like this. If you do, don't apply so much pressure because you can dig into your skin. What you're doing is you're exposing the cutting blade directly to your skin. A lot of times you may have to figure out what angle you need to apply to go against your skin and to be able to press into it. But you don't need to apply a lot of pressure. I just wanted to give you guys that tip real quick. So yeah, I'm gonna skip this whole 1/4 inch open blade just because for me, what I try to do is go straight into giving myself like a 1. I'm gonna go ahead and create the second guideline, and that second guideline is gonna be that's gonna be the first level, you know. So I know a lot of people on YouTube love to tell you to use the flick up motion. I would not recommend doing that. Use an up and down motion, you know what I'm saying? But the thing is, you gotta make sure that your skin is stretched out. So with that being said, let's get into it. Probably see there's the first guard line, which is kind of like the bald line, and then the second guard line, you know. So with that being said, that's a pretty good start so far. Depending on how high you want your taper up, that's how spaced out between each guard line you want. I'm doing about 1/2 inch in between each distance. Like my thumb is basically 1 inch, so that's about halfway. I normally do it that way just to give myself a little bit more room to work with, just in case you mess up. You know, you don't have to go especially high, because when you first starting off, you're gonna think that, okay, I need to go high. Don't do that, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a barber, so I can tell you from a regular person's mindset what to do. Do not go high. Start off low. It's easier to fix it up when it's lower, you know. So all right, now the next thing that you want to do is you want to go with a number 1 guard. The reason why is because I'm going to keep that lever open, and whenever you put a number 1 guard on there, it makes it a number 2. So, all right, now this is what the number 1 guard size looks like. If you guys can't see that, it says number 1 on the guard. And if you need to know the millimeters, because some clippers, they don't tell you what it is. They just tell you the millimeters. This is 3 millimeters, you know what I'm saying? Or 1/8 of an inch. All right, so as y'all can see, I have the number 1 guard on there, and at the same time, it is fully open. So let's get into the third guard line and go from there. Now, at this process, what you want to make sure you do is you always want to make sure you brush your hair in between when you start getting to this level, because the thing is, the higher the guard is, the more it will want to push your hair up, and it makes it harder to cut. We created the first guideline right here. We created the second one. We created the third. Now, in this portion right here, most of you guys probably know I used to have a pattern that swirled around my head. So my hair still kind of wants to try to go down into the area, and it's always harder to try to fade or give yourself a taper in that area. For me, I'm not going to try to make that lower. It's about being able to see your guidelines and trusting yourself in that process. If I want to, I can always go back later, but right now I'm focused on giving myself the guard lines. So the last thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take the number 2 guard. This is the number 2 guard, as you guys can probably see. I'll show you guys in a little bit, but I'm going to have that bad boy fully open like this, the same way, the same process. Now, the thing with number 2 guard that you guys need to know is this is the 1/4 inch guard. So some places will show you that it's a 1/4 inch, and then some places will say that it's 6 millimeters. You know, so there's something if you guys want to know that if you're trying to go out there and buy your own clippers. So with that being said, let's get into it. Alright, so as you guys can probably see, basically started off with the first guideline, created the second guideline, created the third guideline, and then ended the 4th guideline up right here. Now this is the part where my hair is starting to get to my hair length, so it's kind of harder to tell that this is a guideline. But what I use as a reference point is, they call this the occipital. This is the occipital bone in the back of your head, you know. So what you want, I try to aim at ending my taper off right here, and then I blur this top line off with the rest of my hair, you know. So with that being said, I'm about to get into it, and I may go back and touch up these areas, but the process to blend it out and make it a lot less distinct, I'm gonna show you guys right now. This is when we start closing the blade and really finishing things off. So the first thing I'm gonna do is, we already have the 2 guard on there, so I'm just gonna close the guard, you know what I'm saying? And instead of me focusing on the last guideline that I created, I'm gonna go to the previous one. So this previous guideline that I created right here, that's the guideline that I'm gonna focus on trying to blur out, you know. So the technique I told you guys is just simply the up and down, but when you get into this portion, you don't want to go too high. What you want to do is focus as if you're trying to erase that line. So it's now a good tip that you can use whenever you're cutting. You should hear the clippers normal, right? Just like that. However, a good gauge to know if you are coming close to that guard line, always start below it. And then when you start coming close to that guideline, what you're gonna notice is it's gonna be snagging on the hairs while it's cutting it. So you don't want to hear a lot of the hair getting cut off. You just want to hear more of the guards. And as soon as you hit that guard line, you're gonna hear the hair getting cut off. Don't go higher than that. This is what it's gonna look like.
Shh. Listen, boy, listen.
Alright, the next step, I put the number 1 guard on there, and I'm basically going to just start off very low, where I'm only going to hear the clippers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off very low, and I'm only going to try to listen for the guard, right, the clippers noise. I'm going to try to come close to the next guideline, and once I start hearing the hair get cut off, then I'm going to focus on that hairline and try to knock it out. Alright, so as you can see, I knocked out this guideline right here, guard line right here, as well as the guideline that was right here. What I'm going to try to do is, if you guys remember, there was one in this area. To do that, because I already used the number 1 guard closed, and I already used the number 2 guard closed, instead of using the open blade closed all the way, what I'm going to do is put it halfway. So it's going to be at the halfway tick mark. I'm gonna start at the base of my neck. Like I told you guys, listen to the clippers, and then once it starts hitting and cutting some hair, I'm gonna just focus on that area and try to knock that line out right there. So, in a pro tip, when you are first starting off, what you may not notice is with this lever arm, basically every clipper is different. Sometimes the lever arm is loose and you have to tighten it up just so that it doesn't move. But in this case, I don't have to worry about doing it. Is this something I've learned in the beginning? I still kind of hold my hand right above it, right here, just to prevent it from moving, because I used to have cheap clippers and wall clippers. They get you right, but if the lever is not tight, then the lever arm is gonna just move all about, you know. So that's just a pro tip for you guys. Alright, now by going with this, it basically knocked out from the first guideline to the second guideline, but I still have this in between. This is when I created it with the number 1, you know. So what I'm gonna do next is some guards, they come with a 0 guard, right? And this is basically a 1/16 of an inch, and then it's 1.5 millimeters. So I'm gonna keep it at the halfway mark right here, as you guys can see, and then just try to hit out this guideline that's right there. Blur that bad boy out. The one step that I forgot to actually do was to blend out this guideline right here at the top. How I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna take a number 3 guard and I'm gonna have it fully closed. And I'm gonna cut until I can hear the hair getting cut off, and I'm gonna just focus on knocking it out and try to blur it out. So with that being said, let's do it. Alright, now at this point, it doesn't look like I really did much. But the main reason why is a taper means nothing if you don't have a lineup. So I have my Andy Slimline Pro. I got these bad boys off of Amazon. I'll make sure I put them in the link below if you want these. But like I said, if you are a beginner and you just want to go to Walmart and buy you some trimmers, that's what these are called, you know. So what you want to do next is give yourself a lineup. At this process, make sure you take your time. You do not have to rush this. Besides, what else you doing? You probably quarantined in the house all the way up until April 17th like me. So even if you do mess up, that gives you at least 2 weeks to bounce back. So let's get into it. And as you can see, just with the lineup itself, it makes the taper look a lot better than before, you know. So with that being said, I gotta just finish off the bottom portion of it. Now with the bottom portion, because it's supposed to be a taper, I don't really try to go too much into it. I just try to clean up the hairs that's past the taper lines and stuff like this. So what I mean by that is, I just simply do this. Alright, so this is basically how it looks so far. You can stop whenever you want to. Some people want more perfection in their tapers. For the normal person, this may be okay, but there's some people that may still be judging it. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, it's hard to try to do this whenever you can't stretch your skin. And what I mean by that is when you can't do this, when you can't pull your skin up like that, right? So this is a technique, because I have a camera, I can actually take advantage of it. So for me to knock out this last little guideline right here that you guys see, this is a very drastic one that you can still see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys right quick exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm taking my 0 guard, and what I'm doing is I'm putting it at the halfway mark. And what I'm going to do is take my hand just like this, and then try to find it and just try to pull that skin up in that area just like that, right? And as you guys can see, it knocked that guideline out a little bit more. Like I said, this is all your personal preference in regards to how blurry you want it to look, but I'm happy with it, you know. So with that being said, the last step that you want to use is the witch hazel. You know what I'm saying? You want to make sure you put this on the areas that you cut, because your skin is going to be exposed due to the clippers. Now, because most people are buying up toilet paper like it's running out of style, what I advise you to do is just simply take 3 different folds. You know, so 1, 2, 3, you fold them up like that. Then you fold it into another a square, just like this. And then you take the witch hazel and basically pour it on there as such. And then from there, what you're gonna do is simply rub at your hairline as well as every part that you cut. But with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you learned something new, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, as well as feel free to subscribe. I mainly teach people how to get healthier hair as well as waves. So if you want to follow me on my journey of getting this swirl hive, then let's go. It's your boy J. Lou. Salute.
Now when it come to getting waves, they call me the Don. Yes, a light-skinned legend, cause I shine like the sun. I brush them to the left, I brush them to the right. But if I had to talk down, I'ma knock them out of sight. Never chasing the bag, but I stay getting paid. And I don't need a do-rag to keep my waves laid.